News Conference Extra with Conan Nolan.
Good morning and welcome to News Conference Extra, a special segment of Today in LA Weekend. I'm Conan Nolan. Joining us from Washington is Kristen Welker, host of Meet the Press, which airs every Sunday morning, normally at 8 o'clock. It's already aired, broadcast earlier this morning. She joins us from the Meet the Press set at 400 North Capitol Avenue in Washington. So, Kristen, thanks for taking the time. Listen, you had discussed in the program the big fundraiser for President Biden this past week in New York. You had Barack Obama there, former President Bill Clinton. This was an effort, besides raising money, but to, put the flag into the ground for the Democratic Party. Say, listen, you need to rally around this guy. Whatever you may think of his age or whatever policy agenda he may have, this is the guy you need to come home to this fall. It's either him or Donald Trump, and that's the focus of what we saw this week.
Yeah, absolutely. This was former Presidents Obama and Clinton saying this is an all-hands-on-deck effort. And having them there sends that message. And also, Conan, I think importantly, from the perspective of President Biden, helps to energize the base, as you say, to rally Democrats around President Biden, to basically say, look, folks, if we want to win this thing, we have to get going right now. So that's why it's significant. Now, we'll have to see how it plays out. Historically, we have seen this strategy be very effective. Remember what happened back in 2012 when former President Clinton came out and campaigned for then President Obama, who was in the political fight of his life against Mitt Romney. He started talking about things like Obamacare, and Obama referred to him as the explainer in chief. He was more popular than Obama was at the time, and that's what we're seeing right now. Of course, the presidents who are out of office have a higher popularity rating than the person who's currently holding office. So this could be effective at energizing the base. It could also be effective at trying to win over some of those more moderate voters, some of those more independent Nikki Haley voters, for example. Conan, I think that's where the battle lines are really going to be drawn. Who can win those voters over? I'll be watching to see how frequently are former Presidents Obama and Clinton actually out on the campaign trail, and where do they go? We know that President Biden is trailing Trump, not just nationally, but in key battleground states as well. So I think that becomes the question moving forward. But there's no doubt the message they were trying to send, this is all hands on deck.
We have an interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. coming up at 8 o'clock. Talk to us about the concern the Democratic Party has over his candidacy. Based on the polls that we've seen, now he has a running mate, a woman who gave lots of money to the Democratic Party in the past. She's very progressive on many issues, but she's now running with him. How big a threat is this for Joe Biden?
There's no doubt about that, and he's polling in the double digits. So, yes, Democrats are concerned, and that makes the urgency to energize the base that much more effective. Younger voters have their eyes on third-party candidates like Robert F. Kennedy, as you say. Now, his running mate does not have a lot of name recognition. If you ask people, I don't think she necessarily adds that to the ticket. He's the one with the well-known name, but as you say, are some of her credentials appealing to those who are in the Democratic Party? We'll have to wait and see. But yes, there is obviously a lot of concern within the Democratic Party. And don't forget, Conan, we're still waiting to see if and when No Labels announces a candidate. That could also have a big impact on this race.
Right. And Donald Trump seems to be doing what Adam Schiff did to Steve Garvey. That is, in his tweet, is elevating his status with Democrats. Hey, this new candidate for this vice presidential nominee is so liberal, so progressive. And that's sort of out of the Democratic Party playbook, actually, is to try to get as many Democrats to follow him and follow her.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that you're right, that that's certainly the strategy by Trump. He knows what he's doing. He's making the bet that more Democrats will vote for a third-party candidate, but you can't necessarily count on that. I also think it's notable that she made some controversial comments about IVF, of course, in the wake of that Alabama court ruling. So we'll have to see how that plays. Reproductive rights are going to be a big issue in this campaign. And again, I think there's concern, frankly, on both sides about third-party candidates. Trump is trying to make the case and trying to strategically get Democrats to have their eye on that ticket.
As for the elephant in the room, to borrow a phrase from last week, and Chuck Todd, Ronna McDaniel, the former chair of the Republican National Committee, was hired by NBC News for a couple of days. There was a revolt. They were, some folks said they were blindsided. Talk to us about the importance of a diverse array of opinions on Meet the Press, which is arguably the most important political broadcast in the history of television.
Yeah, hearing from diverse voices is the guiding light, quite frankly, of Meet the Press. Since Martha Roundtree first came up with the idea back in 1947, Conan, you're absolutely right. It is a North Star for me. It is something that when you and I first started having these conversations, when I was appointed to be moderator of Meet the Press, that I said to you that what I want is to hear from a range of voices, from perspectives and opinions, and I remain committed to that. And of course, the other part of my charge every Sunday is to make sure that I am holding those in power to account, those who seek power to account for their words, for their actions, to make sure that we are having fair but very tough conversations as well. And that is my commitment to the history, the legacy of the show of Meet the Press. It's also my commitment to our viewers all across the country, Conan.
Kristen Welker, host of Meet the Press, which already aired at 6 this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. NBC4's news conference is at 9 o'clock. We will be talking with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about his campaign for president, about his running mate. And we'll also be talking with Matt Szabo, the chief financial officer for the city of Los Angeles, a city now facing some economic or budget problems. And as a result, they're cutting back on staffing. That's news conference at 8 o'clock, a special time this morning. We'll see you then.